Hey, Daily Librarian here. I'm going to give you in this video some strategies for using the main search interface, how to brainstorm extra keywords, and the context and the paradigm of what you're doing when you're searching in the library catalog. When you're looking at this big, huge graphic that I have, well, you can do any of these searches, but mainly I'm interested in looking at the issue and the problem in the context of evidence-based research. So it's not like anyone's opinion, but this is repeatable, evidence-based questions, surveys, interviews, observations. There's all sorts of scientific methods that you can use. Okay, so when you go out to the open web and I type in wrongful conviction or something like that, if I'm in a different country or if I have a different IP address or if I type it in a different language, it's going to give me, it's going to try and guess what results it's trying to send to me because it wants to be like the best search engine. So if I'm in Korea, even if I'm typing in English, because my IP address shows where I'm at, it's going to give me different results than if I was in like Texas or if I was in Utah or California. And so when you look at an open web website, know that the research results that you do are not typically reproducible, or they might have bias in them because of the IP address, cookies, and the history that it looks at every time you look at something. That's why when you look up Ray-Ban sunglasses and then go to Amazon, all of a sudden you'd be like, have these ads for Ray-Ban sunglasses. And you're like, oh, maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. No, it's just the algorithm that does that. So when you go to the library catalog, this is kind of a main search that has all the disciplines and all different levels of scholarship in here. So there's like really low level stuff like magazines and newspapers, all the way up to like Nobel Prize winning scholarship. So if you type in one word, it's not looking up your cookies or your IP address or anything. So if you told your instructor, hey, I looked up, these are my keywords that I used, they will get the exact same results. Isn't that cool? Or terrifying? So for what it's worth, it is not, since it can't look at any of those things, if I misspell something, so I got 666,000, if I add an E, which I think is the Danish version, whoa, there's a whole bunch less. Or if I go to Google Translate and I figure out how to say this in another language, so this one's Chinese simplified, thanks Google Translate, it's not looking for meaning, it's only looking for the characters that are put in here. So if you speak Spanish or Portuguese or Chinese or any number of different languages, whatever characters you put in, that's what matters, if that makes sense. Let's expand on that. If you go to the main search, or I'll do the advanced search again. If you want to look for two words stuck together, so like wrongful conviction, if I look for that in this manner, some databases might choke and not give you anything. But some might say, well, we're looking for wrongful and conviction, and it might be in the title, it might be in the abstract. What it's going to do is it's going to return everything that has those words. Some of them might be stuck together, but some of them might have wrongful in the title and conviction in the abstract. So for this one, you need to put it in quote marks, and that works in Google as well. So there's 12,000 results. If I narrow it down, is there still 12,000 results? No, there's 4,000. So I winnowed out, what, like 60% of the things that I didn't need because I was just looking for wrongful conviction. If you want to, and you don't want to go systematically go through 4,000 different things, you can narrow it down by the thing that it's in. So like a peer-reviewed journal, those are scholarly articles. Or you could look at book chapters, or you can narrow down by date. So if you want stuff that's a little newer than 1800, I'm going to do 2022. That's another way of narrowing down. Hey, there's only, so since the pandemic, there's still like 700. But what if I want it to be the most important thing? Then I can say, I only want stuff that has wrongful conviction in the title, which is arguably where all the main keywords go. Oh, it didn't do it by date. I'll do the date on this one, last 2 years. There we go, 415. Whew, what else do we do? Let's go back. What if I want to add something? Let me back out. Say I'm like, okay, wrongful conviction's great, but I want to put in things like racism, and I want it to be in specific court system. Well, this is where you add extra keywords. So if I'm just looking for, let's expand out to the last 10 years. And I'm not looking in the title. This is where you would add your next keyword. So let's see, my notes say, oh, so we looked at racism before. So I could do racism, but what about the people who talked about discrimination instead of racism? So I do an or, discrimination, and then or race. How about different versions of the word racism? Or how about, and we put this in quotes, what about racial inequity? So all those synonyms and related terms, you can save and keep on adding as you find them. So instead of just getting wrongful conviction, now I'm narrowing it down specifically to things that are based on the social construction of race. So there's like, oh, there's videos. So if you wanted to get to peer-reviewed journals, you can narrow it down that way, but I'll show you that in a different database. Innocent inmates, stigma, there's more constructions of race. What if you wanted to look specifically in the courts? So there's only 71. This might be too narrow, but every time you add another line, I'm going to do courts or prosecution or sentencing. That's a big one. Anecdotally, I've seen a lot in sentencing. So instead of having to go through 71, how many do we have left? 19. That's not too bad. So all of these should have some of those, each of these words in them. So if you get different words, you're going to want to keep on going. Texas court, vacating a wrongful conviction, forensic voice. See all these, narrow it down so the different keywords that you use show up. By the way, I'm going to have this set of keywords available in the guide. So if you like this, or if you wanted to remember this, remember, just go to the guide. Also, last thing that I wanted to show you, if I'm looking in a peer-reviewed journal and I want to get, lessons from the American Innocence Projects. If I'm just like, oh yeah, this is great, like there's a PDF here, or you can link at it here, but most of these have a citation generator. That's the link. I was like, that's the worst citation of all time. There we go. So you can pick MLA, APA. Ooh, that one is correct too. Sometimes they're not correct. Okay.